What's up, guys? I'm back again with another video, and this time I'll be discussing the next TCG ban list for August/September. Since the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG ban list should be releasing like the same time it did last year, August 31st, and should be effective in September, probably on the same date. So, yeah. Just like last time, I'm going to be doing it with the slideshow and going to be discussing it in a way I think it's the hits that I think are most likely to happen and unlimits and whatever. But I'm also going to throw in some cards that I'd want to see hit or come back that would make the game better or push product or whatever. For the first card, Paradise Smasher should be a pretty obvious one, probably the most obvious one of the entire list. The second coming of Shockmaster creates non-games and forces people to run hand traps instead of breakers. Like Yami is a deck that is incentivized to want to run breakers in cards like Imperm, Dominus Purge, and Songs of the Dominators to get around stuff like Azuna. Although I'm pretty sure Triff won YCS Vancouver with hand traps in his deck. But Paradise Smasher forcing you to have that kind of playstyle instead of like being able to run breakers when they aren't that bad this format, in JUSH format, is definitely pretty frustrating, especially when the card that's punishing you is just a floodgate. That's annoying. Unfortunately, another Memento tool would be gone, but it will probably be well worth it to not have to deal with Paradise Smasher. Next card I have here as a Raizio Mitsurugi hit is King of the Feral Imps. So, I think it's, even though Raizio Mitsurugi is not seeing as much play in JUSH format, it's still a powerful deck. It's not like it lost any cards yet. So I feel like it's still definitely going to be able to warrant hit, also just to usher in the new deck so people actually buy and play them, which I'm pretty sure people are doing, but I'm pretty sure it's just like a case of new toy syndrome, where it's like everyone wants to play with these cool new decks, but Raizio Mitsurugi might still be better, or just a lot more powerful than people are giving credit for. I don't know. But banning this card specifically allows both engines to be playable, but it stops Raizio from being able to bridge into Mitsurugi, which is very important because the Raizio award is pretty fair without going into the Mitsu cards, which just makes it broken and unfair when they can just get into it off their own cards. It's like better the other way around with if Mitsu cards are bridging into Raizios, because the Mitsu cards are just of less quality and don't easily make a rank 4 like Raizio does, where they can just go Special X'd. So, I think this hit's pretty good, and also future decks could also abuse this card and get into Mitsu cards, which could be a bit too powerful depending on what that kind of deck is. Okay, once this one loads in, Cyber's Wicked. So this is like similar to King of the Feral Imps, where I'm not sure if this one, either of these would get hit, but I feel like there's at least going to be a Raizio and Maliss ban on here, maybe even like a limit on each of them, I don't know, but I feel like doing this to like make people want to buy the Justice Hunter decks is a fair prediction. So this hits the deck indirectly, as similarly to King of the Feral Imps, you're taking Maliss's access away from the side engine, from them being able to bridge into it super easily and just make ridiculous boards off of it. And personally, I want to see people normal summon more Dormass as little as possible, but I highly doubt they're going to entirely kill either of these decks. Well, I guess I should say 3, because it's like technically Mitsu, Raizio, Maliss, but you get the idea. For the next card here, this is a bit of copium once this slide actually loads in, since this is taking forever. Okay, Caesar. So, I'm mostly coping with this one, but since I don't think there are many cards that mandatorily need to be banned, since the only card I can realistically think of is like Paradise Smasher, of course, I feel like there might be room for interesting options to ban, like Caesar, which card that just 2-for-1s, very high impact interruptions, because it can like just negate your starter and your extender. Sorry for the pause. The slide was just really slow. Uh, so two high impact interruptions off of just like one engraver or just going moon into Requiem and stuff like that after getting hand trapped twice. So it just feels disgusting to get hit with something like this. And then they also have Paradise engrave. Them just going for like a Lars in Paradise should be good enough off of going for like moon after getting like hand trapped twice or whatever. And this card also should have been banned much sooner, like in Unchained format where I first started seeing play, and would have been a good thing because Fiendsmith cards came out later to make this card even better. Okay, for the next card, we have Protos. Once this loads in, I almost forgot to include this card. This was like the last thing I put in the slides. It's not. This and Caesar are probably. These are like the more experimental things, just because I don't think there needs to be much to be banned, and they're not seeing that much play currently, because Fiendsmith is not really being played, and Protos, there isn't really like a deck using it, like Ryzeo could, but they just aren't that much. So this card shouldn't be legal. I don't know why it ever was, and it's just very toxic and abusable because of Banshee into Flag, and then Flag searches Protos. So that's just a thing that shouldn't be in the game. And then just this, I don't think this is actually going to happen, but I just want to make people aware what this card does if DDD is actually like good, and if it is good after Doom of Dimensions, then this card should definitely not be existing for it. It's basically just D-Barrier, but it's like more cringe. Because what it does is if you have 2 DD cards in your pen scales, then your opponent cannot target monsters on the field with spell trap effects, tribute them for tribute summon, or use them as materials for a fusion, synchro, or Xyz summon. Notably not Link, which is important. But still, it's D-Barrier, but it covers every type. I mean, I guess not like Pen or Ritual or whatever, but 3 of the 4 extra deck types, pretty powerful. And it's also targeting protection. For a pretty easy activation requirement, because DD literally has a link that just places 2 pen scales. And just has a bunch of pens. And this card's also pretty searchable. I'm pretty sure like one of the normal summons searches like a Dark Contract. So this card is also just not very hard to get out. And it's just a very annoying floodgate. And D-Barrier should also just be banned too. Okay, for the limits, we have Habakiri. So this helps hurt the consistency of the Mitsurugi engine, and if it were to still be splashed without King of the Feral Imps. And additionally, this hurts the grind game of the engine, because normally if you're playing this like Rising Mitsurugi, you play like 3 Habakiri and like 1 to 2 Murakumo. So making them have less rituals is a good thing, because they can't just like add them, attribute them for follow-up, or use them for ritual summons or whatever. And I think Habakiri also just like, it's just a ridiculous card, and like I think it definitely warrants a hit. And this and the Feral Imps hint, I think will incentivize people to just buy the JUSH decks, which should be like Konami's goal with this ban list, just to like push product, sadly, instead of like prioritize game balance. Okay, X Ryzeo. Following the tradition of hitting the best deck, Ryzeo could still be too strong, like as a pure version, or at least drive people away from like not playing the Justice Hunter decks. Even though like pure Ryzeo isn't that great, but like X Ryzeo is still a pretty busted card. And I just pretty much just kept the slide the same, because I feel like them going after X Ryzeo is still likely, just to like lower as much as possible from people wanting to play this deck, but also just not outright kill it. For the next limit, we have Obedience Schooled, which it's Yummy's like most broken starter, and I guess like extender if you like clear your own board or whatever. So like the deck also just has gotten results like Triff winning YCS Vancouver with this deck. So like it has results already. So like the deck could definitely warrant a indirect hit on the next list, especially when it has just as ridiculous of a card as this at its disposal. And it could also be a bit too soon to hit it, like I said before. But Yummy's also getting like a new piece of consistency in Doom of Dimensions with a new monster in about a month. So like hitting this card can definitely be like justified. Next limited card, Mistaken Arrest. So it's not seeing as much play now because Mitsurugi Raizio isn't as popular right now. But this card was seeing a good amount of play when that deck was around and is pretty toxic. And also limiting this card would also help the viability of Vanquishal Canine if it starts to become more ramping up in popularity. So that way, like, it just doesn't get hit with this floodgate and like lose to it. Okay, for cards to come back off the list, since I realized Konami just wants to bring back unbanning cards for money, Savage definitely fits that. For the Rocket support coming on Burst Protocol, which is like our January set, so it could be coming back either now or late or the list after in December, like right before like this Burst Protocol would likely come out. But they also could bring it back now because there's a chance in Doom of Dimensions that they import Spoon, the Magistus Spoon, which Magistus Draco Tail was the most popular Draco Tail variant in the OCG because you're able to make Savage before you started your plays. So they can bring it back now, and if they import Spoon, you could definitely help sell that if Savage is legal. For another unban, we have Simorgh. So this, I pretty much want this card. This is like me bias, but there's a reason for it. To help push the Magnificestorming MST deck in Doom of Dimensions, since they're a Beast Warrior or Wing Beast deck. Like the little ones are Beast Warrior, and I think the bigger ones are Wing Beasts. And I'm pretty sure they have like a win lock. If you were to play them pure, they have like a pretty early win lock. So like having end board pieces that are wind attribute definitely help this deck, and it gets out like their own Wing Beast or it's like stuff like Apex Avian. And there's also like I don't think there's really like a too toxic of a card that you can bring out off of it anymore because the Windberry statue's banned. I guess there's like Dark Simorgh, but that's like a bad floodgate to use against bad trap decks, which trap decks are cringe, so the card is actually based. But the point is, like, you're only really bringing out an Omni, which is like it's strong, but for something as specific as like Tri-Brigade or Magnificestorming, or even both together, which is what I really want to do using this card. I feel like these decks, with them not seeing that much play in the OCG, not being too powerful, can definitely deserve to have this card be unbanned. For semi-limited, we have Branded Fusion. This, there could be more cards going to semi-limited, but this is like the most obvious with the Branded Structure deck coming out in October. So, I know Master Duel like semi this card, but one, Master Duel's a different format, and two, it's Master Duel, so I don't really care. So, bringing this back for the Structure deck release, I don't think they could also do this in OCG because this Structure deck is actually coming out at the same time in TCG and OCG. But for some reason, OCG still has Expulsion and Puppet legal, so they may not do that. But I feel like it can come back here with hits to both those cards in the TCG, and Branded also not just seeing that much competitive play currently. For cards to go to Unlimited, we have the Baby Dragons, Chaos Space, and those other cards that I'm not talking about, but are here anyway. So there could be more cards that move to 3, but these are obviously the most likely, except for like Chaos Space specifically, because it didn't. It's actually at 1, while all these other cards were at 1 and then got semi'd last ban list. But because of like what I was saying earlier about Savage with Rocket cards and Breath Protocol, uh, bringing back Dragon cards is definitely something in Konami's interest, either like now or later. And there isn't really the same justification as with Savage with Spoon bringing it back right away. So yeah, that's it for my prediction. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.